Hey man, how is it going? Seems like it's been a couple weeks since I made one of these things and posted it. Well, we had some other stuff going on, and that's okay. That's just part of life. Sometimes we get busy, sometimes you get involved. No sweat it. Don't let it get to you too much. But welcome to Hands Like Hide. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join me today. And I hope that today's conversation and just some of the stuff that's on my heart and what we're going to talk about is impactful to you. And maybe we'll get a little bit vulnerable, which I'm not super excited about right now. But that's all right. I mean, I guess I don't have to be excited to be vulnerable. It's necessary sometimes in healing and recovery. But what we kind of want to talk about today, which has been on my heart for a few days, is the idea of like destination determines direction. And what made me think about this, I had a conversation with my boss this past week. He was considering making a purchase and he was like trying to figure out which direction he should go. Um, and I just kind of listened to him for a little while and I just like asked him, I'm like, so like, where do you see your business going in the future? Right? Like destination determines direction. And I thought, man, that would make a pretty good topic for today's podcast. And so let's just unpack that a little bit more. Really, where this kind of sets home, I guess, from a biblical perspective, is that like Proverbs says, "Where there's no vision, the people perish." And so, like, if there's something you want to do, in a nutshell, if there's something you want to do and you find yourself kind of stuck or you can't seem to get past it, right? Like you keep like looping back, or like you find yourself back where you don't want to be over and over and over. You keep looping. Chances are you don't have a clear destination in mind. And we can apply this across the board. When you get in a car and you go for a drive, right? If you don't have a clear destination in mind, then how do you know to turn left versus right or go north versus south, right? Um, and what came to my mind when I was kind of processing this thing is that, years ago, I was a bricklayer, block layer, stonemason for a lot of years. And I love that job. I still do. I mean, every time I was on a job site this past week driving dump truck, and they had a whole mason crew there, and they were all laying brick and stuff. And I just have this like soft spot in my heart for that because, it's just there's just something about, the work, using your hands, being on the scaffold shoulder to shoulder with the guys laying up whatever you're laying up. And years ago, we were laying a stone fireplace in these people's like mountain cabin along the lake kind of thing. And this stone fireplace was like 3 floors. It started in the basement. First floor had a see-through fireplace, and then in like the great room, the cathedral ceiling, I don't know, man, it may be 30 feet tall. It was freaking huge. And the stone went all the way to the peak. And then upstairs, like the second floor loft, also had a fireplace, going into like where the bedrooms were and stuff like that. And this was out of town work. So we were like 2.5 hours from home. We would leave super early Monday morning. We would drive up there and then we would work like a 10-hour day. And then we'd check into the hotel room. And then generally we'd work like, 4 10s or something like that. And then drive home Thursday night after working. And, you know, I can still see the hotel room, right? Like the red carpet, like the ugly red carpet. And the smell of it is like, it's not like super touristy, so it's kind of like run down. And, my boss at the time was pretty frugal. We won't say cheap, we'll say frugal. And so, like, it wasn't the best hotel available, right? And I could just, uh, red carpet. I think it was like a green brown comforter on the bed, right? You get the drift. It's just like, I don't know, kind of a nasty spot, but hey, whatever. That's what he provided for us, and at least the bed was cleanish. And when you're done laying rock all day long and your hands are bruised and cracked up and you got tape on your fingers, you don't really care. You just want some pizza and at the time some beer, and you know what I mean. Crash for the night. What else you gonna do? Well, during this time, I was like beginning to be interested in learning how to play guitar. And like I've always played an instrument since I was about 8 years old. Usually it's trombone and things like that. But I started getting interested in wanting to learn how to play guitar. I've also always been a Dave Matthews fan. And so this one night, we're done with work And I remember this night vividly. I'm laying on the bed, you know, we just ate a whole bunch of pizza, and the rest of the crew, they're out there on the porch, drinking beers, passing the bowl around. And I just didn't feel like getting into all that night. And I just, was laying on the bed. I had my headphones in, my earbuds in both sides, and I was like goofing around on YouTube. And I came across, Dave Matthews Band and Tim Reynolds live at Radio City, like that album and that video. And from the first note that Dave played on the song Bartender, which was the opening song for that gig, I was riveted. Like, I was so mesmerized by the music that I was hearing from these two guys playing acoustic guitar, by Dave singing, and just the whole production of that whole thing, that I later on found out that my buddies were out there on the porch, like banging on the glass wall, opening the door, calling to me, trying to get my attention. And I didn't hear any of it. I was just like so absorbed in what I was watching here. And when I came away from that video, I had a very clear destination in mind. And it was, I want to do that, right? I want to learn how to play guitar and sing songs for people. Like, I want to do that. It was so clear, right? And so because I had that destination in mind, I was able to make decisions, right? I could go, purchase a better guitar than the hand-me-down one that I had. I could take some guitar lessons. I could watch YouTube videos on learning how to play songs. I could talk to other musicians and ask them questions, and I could choose to learn to play more acoustic guitar than electric, right? Even down to those type things. I could learn to be a better rhythm player than a better like lead soloist, right? And so it just even goes down to the minutiae of that type of stuff. And here I am today. This was, let's see, how many years have we been since that? My son wasn't born yet. So this might have been like 14, 15 years ago, something like that. It's a long time. And so here I am today. I play guitar every week for our church. I have been in a couple bands. I've written a few songs, and I had the opportunity on occasion to, play in front of people via gigs or parties or house parties or whatever they are. And I actually had the opportunity a couple years ago at my high school reunion to alumni weekend to actually play a song that I wrote for a packed auditorium of students and alumnus and parents and all this kind of thing. I was super nervous about it, but like it went really well, and all because I had a clear destination in mind that I was inspired by that video, something that I wanted to do, right? And so this whole process, it's not a new idea. Anytime you get into recovery and any kind of substantial like mental health healing, you will be asked to write a letter to yourself from the future. And this is intentional. This is on purpose because like when you can write it on paper and get really detailed about like what the future is going to look like for you and in your life, then it gets you out of the negative loop that you find yourself stuck in when you're trying to like overcome and get over something that an unwanted behavior of some sorts. The more detailed, the better, right? Again, acoustic guitar, rhythms, singing versus electric guitar, distortion pedals, lead solo playing, right? Like you can get very more specific in what you're doing there. Um, there's a book out there, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl wrote. He's a psychiatrist, Soviet concentration camps, this whole thing. He got thrown in these concentration camps, and he writes in his book about his experience there and how he survived them, how he got out of them, right? He said something really interesting. He said when he was there, dying of starvation and on the working lines and in this concentration camp, he kept in the focus of his mind, one day I'm going to stand on stage and I'm going to speak to people about my experience and I'm going to write a book about this. Like he kept that in his mind. And that focus, that hyper focus on a destination that he wanted, gave him the hope, gave him the energy, gave him the discernment to know how to decide and choose what to do, what not to do, how to behave, how to think, how to feel, even, right? Because he even talks about a little bit in the book. I remember, I haven't read the whole thing. It's a pretty decent read, but like I remember him talking about the people who lost hope were the ones that died. I mean, that's a huge statement. People who lose hope die. And Proverbs backs it up. Where there's no vision, the people perish. Right? And so you could take that literally, or you could take it metaphorically. Our dreams die, our aspirations die, our hobbies die, our interest in something dies, our sense of self dies, right? It all just goes into atrophy and we all just like fade away and we end up just being this shadow person. And when somebody asks you, what's your hobbies? What do you like to do? What do you want to be when you grew up when you were 5 years old? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I used to love this, but now I don't anymore, and I don't know why. And bro, that's a tough place to be. I've been there. I mean, I remember sitting on the step in my sunroom one night, one afternoon several years ago, and I was crying. And my wife asked me, what was wrong?" And I was just like, "I don't know who I am anymore." And I was just like melting down and everything. And I just came up against this like total crisis, or like the way I was living life, and my destination, you call it, was avoiding pain and medicating all of that. It wasn't working for me anymore, right? The whole house of cards came crumbling down in that moment. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 and 2 backs this whole principle up even more. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith, so that we may run with endurance the race marked out for us, right? Tour de France just finished up here recently, and I guarantee you all of those cyclists had a clear destination in mind, and that was to be the first one across the finish line. And because they were so hyper focused on that destination, it would determine techniques, tactics, strategy to get there, right? We can keep all of this in mind. So, how does this play out? I've been on the fence about sharing this with you. I'm nervous about it. It's super vulnerable, but I've written several such letters to myself in my recovery journey, and um, again, the more detailed you get, the more specific you get in these letters, the better they are to help you navigate your future as you go. And I just feel on my heart that to kind of show you and demonstrate to you what this can look like in your own life, I want to read to you a letter that I wrote myself 2 years ago, almost to the day. Um, and this is a 10-year letter. So I wrote this letter to myself from 10 years in the future, and it was to help me navigate a very specific, very difficult early stages of recovery in my life. I hope that this letter is not only impactful for you and your own story, but that it also inspires you to sit down and to get really connected with yourself and work through a letter like this on your own. Because again, destination determines direction, right? So I wrote this July 18th, 2023. So I dated the letter July 18th, 2033, 10 years from now. It says, "Dear Charlie, today marks the 10th year anniversary of your first EMDR session with Tyler. In this session, you uncovered the root of your rage, defeat. It triggered a huge cognitive download of thematic memories where the result of feeling defeat was rage. You hurt yourself and others through these moments, and I don't blame you." That's pretty awesome. "And I don't blame you. You were handed a serious pile of crap. I'm not going to fill your head with a bunch of blah, blah, blah about having a ministry and leading people to rapid healing. That comes as naturally to you as breathing. We really have an amazing gift. I'm going to tell you who you are. You are solid. You have an immovable presence and an unwavering resolve. When you set your heart on a thing, that thing happens every time. You are peaceful. People calm down when they are in your presence, not because you're amazing, even though you are, but because God's presence flows out of you more powerfully than anyone has ever seen. You shine, son, literally. You are power. I don't mean controlling. I mean, you can't be moved. Your power over yourself influences and energizes others into action. Not always positive. People still have free will. Power to see the truth in people. Power to control yourself. Power to heal hearts and minds. Power to perform miracles. You perform many. Power to heal your marriage. You have to experience it to believe how amazing it is. You are a force to be reckoned with. And that's okay because you are also good. You are very good. So, my brother, when you read this, know that the legacy you leave is a man of peace, a man of solidarity, and a man of power. Use these traits and gather the masses. They need you to lead them home with total confidence, Charlie. Sometimes I don't even know how to process my own words to myself from 10 years in the future, right? And I think that I don't live up to this now. And sometimes I feel like I must be crazy to write that stuff, right? But I think that's the point because if your destination is so specific and seems so not possible today, it's almost like an unattainable goal, if you could almost say it like that. But the more specific, the more you can dream big and get outside of yourself, then that energy, that motivation, you rise to the standard that you set yourself. I hope that makes sense. It's been a couple of years actually since I read this letter. I read it. I kind of felt God leading me to say like, "Hey, I should share this." I read it before recording today, and I just sat down and I was like, "There's no way. There's no way I can't read that." But in order to lead, as you know, as a man, it requires vulnerability. It requires going first. And so I hope that it's my hope and it's my prayer that, through this letter and through you hearing it, that you can be inspired to set a destination for yourself that is so far outside of where you are right now that it seems like I can never get there. That seems out of this world crazy. But when you read it back to yourself out loud, as I just did with you get this sense of like, holy cow, am I like I can't even find the words. I got goosebumps right now. I can't even find the words to describe how what it brings up in me. Do I have what it takes? You do. And that's the whole point because you wrote this to yourself. You do. And what you'll find is that as you go through this process of setting a destination for yourself, that the direction will become laser clear. It'll become very clear. I need to do this and not that. I want to stop smoking. That's my direction to be a non-smoker. Well, then you've got some decisions to make, my friend, of the direction you need to go to make that plan out. You want to quit porn? Well, you've got some decisions to make. You want to heal your marriage? You want to start a business? You want to grow your income exponentially? You want to create an album? You want to switch careers entirely and go back to school? Whatever it is, write it on a piece of paper, a letter to yourself. Be specific, be detailed. Write it in such a way that it seems like asinine and ridiculous when you read it back to yourself. That's the point. Let that vision, let that direction guide you in your decision makings today and this coming week. Hit me up. If you wrote one and you want to share it with somebody, I'll listen. I will listen to your letter, man, and we will process through it. That is fine. Hit me up. Thank you so much. This is Hands Like Hyde. I'm your host, Charlie Pfeiffer. I'm so glad you're with me today. If you like this content, please like it. Please share. Please subscribe. I know there's a dude out there in your life that could probably benefit from this stuff too. And you can find me on Instagram, Hands Like Hyde. Shoot me a message and we'll connect. Talk to you later. Bye.